My blood boiled watching Lisa, my supposed best friend, soak up the applause at the county fair, clutching the prize for the apple pie she stole from my family. All those smiles, all those questions about my Grandma Elsie's secret spice. It was all a lie. She'd planned this. But that thief celebrated too early, because our family's unique spice blend wasn't just a secret. It was about to be her very public undoing. I won't let her get away with it. I'm going to ruin her life and for everyone to see. The scent of apples and cinnamon, that wasn't just a smell in our house. It was a memory, a promise. Grandma Elsie's apple pie. It wasn't just food. It was her laughter, her calloused hands kneading dough, the crinkle around her eyes when she'd present it, still warm from the oven. The recipe card, yellowed and soft at the edges, lived in a tin box Mark had helped me find at a flea market, tucked away like the treasure it was. The real secret, though, wasn't just the perfect balance of tart Granny Smiths and sweet Honey Crisps. It was Elsie's enchanter, her unique 7-spice blend, the one she'd grind herself with a mortar and pestle older than my mother. Cardamom, star anise, a whisper of something peppery I could never quite name. She'd only ever told me, "It's the love, Sarah Beth," and a pinch of that. Mark poked his head into the kitchen, where I was staring at the Oak Haven Chronicle spread open on the table. "Big news, huh? The 75th Annual County Fair. You thinking what I'm thinking?" He grinned, already knowing the answer. Our daughter, Emily, a whirlwind of teenage angst and surprising sweetness, drifted in, phone glued to her ear. "Mom, is Lisa coming over later? She said something about needing your expert opinion on vintage teacups." Emily rolled her eyes, a gesture so perfectly her grandmother's it made my heart ache a little. "Probably, sweetie. And yes, Mark, I am absolutely thinking about that blue ribbon." The baking contest at the Oak Haven Fair was legendary. I'd entered before with other things, but never Grandma Elsie's pie. It felt too sacred. This year, the 75th, felt significant. The doorbell chimed, and before I could answer, Lisa breezed in, all bright colors and infectious energy, a walking sunbeam. "Smells like heaven in here already, Sar. Just thinking about pie?" Lisa, my best friend since kindergarten, the keeper of my childhood secrets, the godmother to Emily. She plopped onto a kitchen chair, her eyes landing on the Chronicle. "Oh, the fair. Are you finally going to unleash the Elsie masterpiece on them?" "It's time," I said, feeling a thrill. "This year, that blue ribbon has Grandma's name on it." Lisa clapped her hands. "Amazing, you'll sweep it. No competition. Say, what exactly is in that enchanter stuff? Just curious, for the official entry description, you know. Notes of exotic spice sound so much better than secret stuff." Her smile was wide, innocent. Just Lisa being Lisa, always full of ideas. The following Saturday, I started my first practice run. The rhythmic thud of the rolling pin against the floured board, the crisp snap of apples under the knife, these were familiar comforts. Emily wandered in, snagged a slice of apple, and offered, "Smells like victory, Mom." Mark, sorting through a box of antique maps for his upcoming appraisal gig, his own quiet passion, just winked from the dining room. Lisa, true to form, dropped by mid-afternoon, ostensibly to return a book. She hovered as I crimped the edges of the crust. "You know, Sarah, you really should bottle that Elsie's Enchanter. Seriously. People would pay a fortune for that unique flavor. You could call it Sarah's secret spice sensation." She laughed, a little too brightly. "Grandma always said it was just for family," I replied, carefully arranging the lattice top. It was an old line, one I'd used before, but today it felt heavier. A small, unnameable discomfort prickled at the back of my neck. Lisa had always known the recipe was private. "Oh, of course, family tradition, totally get it," she said, peering closer at the unbaked pie. "But just for the description for the judges, is that a hint of mace I detect, or is it nutmeg? It's so complex." "It's just Elsie's," I said, a little more firmly than intended. I started telling her about the time Grandma Elsie tried to teach me the perfect crimp, and I ended up with something resembling a deflated football. Lisa laughed. The moment passed, but the tiny niggle remained. Later that evening, Mark found me staring into the spice cabinet. Everything okay, hun? You seem a bit preoccupied. Lisa seemed extra interested in the pie today. He wasn't accusing, just observing, the way he did with his old maps, noticing the faint water stain, the almost invisible tear. Just fair nerves, I guess, I mumbled, not quite believing it myself. Oakhaven was practically vibrating with fair anticipation. Banners fluttered from lampposts. The hardware store had a pyramid of canning jars in the window. Even Mr. Henderson at Henderson's Groceries, normally a man of few words, was offering unsolicited advice on jam-setting techniques. I picked up my official entry form from the town hall, the paper crisp and official in my hand. Sarah Miller. Category: fruit pies. Entry: Grandma Elsie's apple pie. It felt good, solid. Lisa and I met for coffee at the Daily Grind. So have you decided what you're entering? I asked, stirring my latte. She took a delicate bite of a scone. Oh, I don't know. Maybe just some simple sugar cookies this year. Or that lemon thyme shortbread. Honestly, after tasting your practice pie the other day, Sarah, anything I make will just look sad next to it. She smiled, self-deprecating. Though for your pie, when you're describing it for the judge's notes, you know that one little aromatic kick it has right at the end? Is that allspice? Or something more floral? Like a specific type of peppercorn, maybe? Just trying to help you nail the description, make it irresistible. Her gaze was direct, earnest, helpful. Why did it feel like an interrogation lamp? It's just the blend, Lisa. The way they work together. I changed the subject, talking about Emily's upcoming history test, the one I was supposed to be helping her study for, instead of obsessing over pie. Lisa was understanding, full of sympathy for the trials of parenting a teenager. Walking home, the autumn air crisp against my cheeks, I chided myself. I was being ridiculous. This was Lisa, my best friend. She was just excited for me, trying to be supportive in her own slightly over-caffeinated way. The unease was just pressure, the weight of expectation, the desire to do Grandma Elsie proud. Nothing more. A few days later, Lisa was over. We were sitting in the sunroom, going over old photos for a then and now display the Historical Society was planning for the fair. My part-time gig as the local history columnist for the Chronicle often roped me into these things. Emily called from upstairs, a minor crisis involving a misplaced textbook. "Be right back," I said, leaving Lisa with the box of photos and our half-empty mugs of tea. It couldn't have been more than 5 minutes. When I returned, Lisa was standing by the window, looking out at the garden, a slightly flustered air about her. "Just admiring your roses," she said, turning a little too quickly. "They're really holding on this year." We chatted for a bit longer, then she had to run. Later that evening, after Mark and Emily were asleep, I went to put Grandma Elsie's recipe card back in its tin. The tin was in its usual spot in the kitchen drawer, but the recipe book I kept alongside it, the one where I'd carefully transcribed all of Grandma's handwritten notes, was on the counter. Not just on the counter, but open. Open to the apple pie page. My heart gave a strange, painful lurch. That wasn't right. I always put it away immediately. I picked it up. A faint, almost invisible smudge marred the corner of the page, right near the handwritten list for Elsie's enchanter. It was a pearlescent pink, the exact shade of the new nail polish Lisa had been wearing, the one she'd enthused about just that afternoon. Coral Kiss, she'd called it. My breath hitched. My hand, the one holding the book, started to tremble. That smudge hadn't been there this morning, and Lisa had been alone in the kitchen. Sleep was a battlefield that night, images warring in my head. Lisa's bright smile, the pink smudge, Grandma Elsie's trusting eyes. I woke feeling like I'd swallowed sand. The smudge. It was so small, so insignificant. Maybe it was mine? Maybe I'd touched the page after painting Emily's nails for her school dance last month with a similar, though not identical, shade. I tried to reason it away, to scrub the ugly suspicion from my mind, but it stuck, like burrs on a wool sweater. At breakfast, Mark noticed. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Sar." I forced a smile. Just tired. Pre-fair jitters, you know. I couldn't voice it. Saying it aloud would make it too real, too monstrous. Later that morning, I called Lisa, my voice carefully casual. "Hey, just wondering if you finalized what you're baking for the fair?" Emily was asking. A small lie, but my throat felt tight. "Oh, you know me, still waffling." Her laugh sounded a little forced. "Probably just those boring old sugar cookies. Don't want to steal your thunder with the pie, superstar." She changed the subject quickly, asking about my column, about a new antique store downtown. Her cheerfulness felt like a thin veneer over something hollow. The conversation was brief, unsatisfying. The seed of doubt, watered by her evasion, began to sprout ugly, tangled roots in my gut. I spent the rest of the day in a fog, the joy of anticipation for the fair curdling into a sick dread. Fair day dawned bright and crisp, a perfect autumn morning, the kind of day that usually filled me with a fizzy excitement. Today it just made the knot in my stomach tighter. Mark and Emily were blessedly oblivious, full of good-natured teasing and genuine encouragement as I meticulously packed Grandma Elsie's pie into its carrier. "Knock 'em dead, Mom," Emily said, giving me a quick hug. Mark squeezed my shoulder. "It's perfect, Sarah, just like Elsie's." His quiet confidence was a small anchor. The Oakhaven County Fairgrounds were a riot of sound and color. The Ferris wheel spun lazily against the blue sky. The air thrummed with music from the bandstand, the excited squeals of children, and the lowing of prize-winning cattle. The scent of popcorn, grilled onions, and something vaguely manure-ish hung heavy. Usually, I loved this chaotic symphony. Today it was just noise, grating on my already frayed nerves. The baking pavilion was a hive of activity. Women, and a few brave men, bustled about, arranging their entries on long, cloth-covered tables. The air was thick with the aroma of sugar, yeast, and anxious ambition. I found my designated spot, placed Grandma Elsie's pie carefully, and adjusted the little entry card. Grandma Elsie's apple pie, Sarah Miller. My hands were trembling, but not from excitement. This tremor came from a deeper, colder place. I took a deep breath, trying to shake off the oppressive feeling. This was for Grandma. With my pie settled, I decided to wander, to look at the competition. Cakes frosted into impossible architectural marvels, cookies decorated with an artist's precision, breads burnished to a perfect gold. So much hope, so much effort, all laid out for judgment. Then I saw it. A few tables down, in the fruit pies section, sat a pie. Not just any pie. My pie. The lattice top was identical, woven with the same distinctive pattern I'd painstakingly taught myself from one of Grandma's old baking books. The crimped edges, those little scallops I'd struggled to perfect, were exactly the same. Even the way the apple slices, just visible beneath the golden crust, were fanned out. It was a mirror image. My breath hitched. My heart seemed to stop, then restart with a painful thud. A small, neatly printed card sat beside it. Lisa Miller's Heritage Apple Pie. Lisa? Her heritage? What heritage? Her family was known for their terrible attempts at boxed brownies, a running joke between us for years. Disbelief warred with a cold, creeping certainty. It couldn't be. But it was. My eyes darted around the pavilion, searching for her. There she was, by the entrance, chatting animatedly with Mrs. Gable, one of the head judges, a woman whose discerning palate was legendary in Oakhaven. Lisa looked radiant, confident, not a shadow of guilt on her smiling face. I walked towards her, my legs feeling like lead. My carefully constructed composure was shattering. "Lisa," I said, my voice sounding distant, unfamiliar even to my own ears. She turned, her smile brilliant. "Sarah, there you are. Isn't this exciting?" She gestured vaguely towards the tables laden with baked goods. "Lisa," I tried again, keeping my voice low, though a tremor ran through it. "Your pie, it looks remarkably like mine." Her eyes, usually so warm, held a cool, appraising look. She glanced towards her entry, then back at me, her smile unwavering, almost pitying. "Oh, that old thing, just a recipe my Nana used to make. Funny coincidence, isn't it? Great minds and all that." She patted my arm, a gesture that felt more like a dismissal than a comfort. "Guess we just have similar taste in apple pies, Sarah pal. May the best baker win, right?" The casualness of it, the utter lack of shame, was like a slap in the face. A hot, furious tide rose within me, scalding away the shock, leaving behind a raw, burning rage. This wasn't a coincidence. This was theft. This was a betrayal so profound it stole my breath. The years of friendship, the shared confidences, the laughter, the tears, all of it felt like a lie, a cruel joke. Her smile, once a source of warmth, now seemed icy, calculating. And in that moment, looking at her serene, triumphant face, something inside me hardened. The fire in my veins wasn't just anger, it was a resolve. She wasn't going to get away with this. The judges began their rounds. Stern-faced women with clipboards and small silver forks moved slowly along the tables, tasting, conferring in hushed tones. Each minute stretched into an eternity. I watched Lisa from across the pavilion. She was a picture of relaxed confidence, accepting compliments from passers-by, laughing easily. She didn't look my way once. It was as if I'd become invisible, a ghost at her victory feast. The rage I'd felt earlier began to cool, to solidify into something sharper, more focused. A blade being honed. Mark found me. "How's it looking?" he asked, his eyes scanning my face, missing nothing. "Lisa entered a pie," I said, my voice flat. "Identical to Grandma Elsie's." His eyebrows shot up. "Identical? You mean—" "I mean she stole it, Mark." The words, spoken aloud, tasted like ash. He didn't question, didn't doubt. He just squeezed my arm, his anger a silent echo of my own. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," I whispered. But even as I said it, the germ of an idea, ugly and sharp, began to take root. Grandma Elsie's voice echoed in my memory, not her gentle, loving tones, but a sterner note I'd heard only once or twice, when someone had tried to cheat her at the farmer's market. "Truth has a way of finding the light, Sarah Beth. Sometimes it just needs a little nudge." The judges paused longer at Lisa's pie. I saw Mrs. Gable take a bite, her eyes closing for a moment, a small, almost imperceptible nod. My stomach twisted. They loved it. They loved my pie, served up by a thief. The pavilion buzzed with anticipation. Mayor Thompson, a man whose folksy charm masked a shrewd political mind, stepped up to the small podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, bakers of Oak Haven, what a showing this year! Truly a testament to the heart and hearth of our wonderful community." He rambled on for a few minutes, building the suspense. My hands were clenched so tight my knuckles were white. Finally, he got to the fruit pies. "And the blue ribbon, for a pie that our judges called a symphony of autumnal flavors, a masterpiece of crust and filling, goes to Lisa Miller for her heritage apple pie." A wave of polite applause rippled through the room. Lisa gasped, a hand flying to her mouth in perfectly feigned surprise. She beamed, accepting the oversized blue ribbon, her eyes shining. She hugged Mayor Thompson. She even blew a kiss to the crowd. It was a performance worthy of an Oscar. I felt a cold sickness wash over me. The injustice of it was a physical weight, pressing down, stealing my breath. Mark's hand found mine, his grip tight, grounding. Lisa stepped to the microphone, her voice trembling with emotion, or so it seemed. "Oh my goodness, I'm speechless. I just want to thank the judges and my dear Nana, whose spirit I felt with me as I baked this. It's an old family secret, you know, with a very special little trick to the spice blend that just makes it pop." She winked at the crowd, a conspiratorial, charming gesture. That wink, that mention of a special little trick. It was like a key turning in a rusty lock. A special little trick. The phrase echoed in my mind, cutting through the red mist of my anger. Grandma Elsie's voice, clear as a bell. Elsie's enchanter, Sarah Beth. 7 secret soldiers, marching in perfect harmony. No one else knows the full regiment. Not just a blend, but 7 specific, carefully balanced spices. Some common, some less so. One almost impossible to source locally except through Mr. Henderson, who got it special order from an importer in Chicago just for us for years. Lisa wouldn't know that. She couldn't. She might have seen the main ingredients on the recipe card, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, the allspice, but the other 4, the precise measurements, the one key element that gave it its unique, lingering warmth, the one I had to grind myself from whole pods because pre-ground lost its magic? Number impossible. A cold, clear purpose settled over me. The grand awards ceremony was tonight. On the main stage, all winners presented, a live microphone, a whole town watching, Mr. Henderson. He was a stickler for honesty, a pillar of the community. He'd know the rarity of that one particular spice, the grains of paradise. He'd know only my family bought it. I slipped out of the pavilion, the noise and forced cheerfulness suddenly unbearable. I found a quiet spot behind the livestock barns, the scent of hay and animal feed a strange comfort. I pulled out my phone. My fingers were steady as I dialed Henderson's groceries. Mr. Henderson? It's Sarah Miller. Yes, fine, thank you. Quick question for you about spices. The conversation with Mr. Henderson was brief to the point. Yes, he remembered the grains of paradise. Yes, my grandmother, and then my mother, and now I, were the only ones in Oakhaven, possibly the county, who'd ever ordered it through him. He even remembered commenting to Grandma Elsie once about its unusual, almost citrusy peppery note. A fine spice for a fine lady's pie, he'd said. My heart beat a steady, determined rhythm. Proof. Not just a feeling, but something tangible. I walked back towards the main fairgrounds, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows. The festive atmosphere felt different now, charged with a different kind of energy. My energy. Lisa was near the cotton candy stand, surrounded by a small group of admirers, the blue ribbon pinned proudly to her blouse. She was holding her winning pie, or rather, my winning pie, posing for photos on someone's phone. She saw me. Our eyes met across the bustling thoroughfare. For a moment her smile faltered, just a fraction, before it reasserted itself, brighter, more defiant than before. Then, in a gesture so blatant, so dripping with condescension it made my blood boil, she took a bite of the pie, a large, deliberate, triumphant bite, and gave me a slow, smug wink, as if to say I won, you lost, and there's nothing you can do about it. She had no idea. She had absolutely no idea what was coming. The taste of cotton candy and diesel fumes suddenly seemed less like a fair and more like a battlefield I was preparing to enter. And I had my weapon. Evening descended on the Oakhaven County Fair, draping the midway in a cloak of twinkling lights and the deepening scent of fried dough and anticipation. The main stage was a blaze of glory, floodlights cutting through the twilight, a large banner proclaiming 75th Annual Oakhaven Grand Champions. A local country band was finishing their set, their upbeat twang doing little to soothe the frantic hummingbird wings in my chest. Mark was beside me, a silent, solid presence. Emily had opted to stay with friends, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing, probably for the best. In my pocket, my fingers closed around the small, familiar metal tin of Elsie's enchanter. Not the bulk container from my spice cabinet, but Grandma Elsie's personal one, the one she always kept on her baking shelf, its label handwritten in her spidery script. It felt both a comfort and a burden. Stage fright was a new sensation for me, but this wasn't about forgetting lines. This was about detonation. Mayor Thompson was back at the podium, his voice booming across the assembled crowd. Families on picnic blankets, teenagers perched on hay bales, the town's familiar faces looking up with expectation. He was announcing the grand champions from various categories: best quilt, prize hog, tallest sunflower. Each announcement was met with enthusiastic applause. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the festive noise. I scanned the crowd. Mr. Henderson was there near the front, his arms crossed, looking thoughtfully at the stage. Good. 4.2. Her shining moment. My dark resolve. And now, Mayor Thompson announced, his voice taking on a reverent tone, for a truly outstanding achievement in the culinary arts, a creation that captured the very essence of Oakhaven tradition and home-baked goodness, the grand champion of our baking division, for her spectacular heritage apple pie, Ms. Lisa Miller. The applause was louder this time. Lisa, who had been waiting discreetly in the wings, glided onto the stage. She was wearing a different outfit, a dress that shimmered under the lights, the blue ribbon from earlier now joined by an even larger, more ornate Grand Champion rosette. She positively glowed, her smile radiant, practiced. She accepted a small trophy from the mayor, posed for a flash of cameras, and then turned to the microphone. "Oh, wow," she began, her voice breathy, filled with a convincing humility that made my stomach clench. This is just such an incredible honor. I'm overwhelmed." She paused, looking out at the crowd, at our town. "This pie, it's more than just apples and flour. It's my Nana's legacy, a secret she passed down, a little bit of her heart in every bite. And to have it recognized like this," she pressed a hand to her chest, "it means the world." Her shining moment. And in that moment, my resolve, which had flickered with a brief, nauseating wave of doubt, am I really going to do this? In front of everyone? Solidified into cold, hard diamond. Yes, I was. For Grandma Elsie. For every family tradition ever casually dismissed or callously stolen. I moved. Before Mark could react, before I could second-guess myself, I was walking towards the side steps of the stage. A volunteer tried to stop me, a confused look on his face. "Ma'am, this area is for—" "I need to speak," I said, my voice low but firm, pushing past him. I reached the edge of the stage just as Lisa was saying, "And that special little trick with the spices, well, a magician never reveals her secrets." She laughed, a tinkling, self-satisfied sound. "Excuse me." My voice, amplified unexpectedly by a nearby monitor speaker, cut through her laughter, through the polite applause. A sudden, sharp silence fell over the crowd. Every head turned. Lisa froze, her smile faltering, then vanishing as she saw me standing there, bathed in the harsh stage lights. "Mayor Thompson, judges, everyone," I continued, my voice surprisingly steady despite the tremor in my hands. "There's something you all need to know about that heritage apple pie and its secret spices." Lisa's face went pale. "Sarah, what are you doing?" she hissed, her voice a venomous whisper into the microphone she still held, audible to everyone. I stepped fully onto the stage, holding up Grandma Elsie's spice tin. "This," I announced, my voice ringing out, "is Elsie's Enchanter, my grandmother's secret spice blend. The only secret spice blend in that pie, a recipe Lisa Miller stole from my family." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Murmurs started like wind rustling through dry leaves. "She's lying," Lisa shrieked, her composure cracking. "She's just jealous I won." "Am I, Lisa?" I kept my voice calm even. "Then tell us. If it's your Nana's secret, if it's your special little trick, tell Oakhaven right now. What are the 7 spices in Elsie's Enchanter? Name them." I looked directly at Mr. Henderson. "Specifically, Lisa, can you tell us about the grains of paradise? The one you'd have had to source so carefully?" The silence on that stage was absolute, a suffocating blanket. Lisa stared at me, her eyes wide with a mixture of fury and dawning panic. The color drained from her face, then flooded back in a mottled, angry red. She opened her mouth, then closed it, stammered. It's a secret I told you." "Some secrets are just lies, Lisa," I said, my voice softer now, but carrying in the profound quiet. The crowd was motionless, a sea of stunned faces. I could see Mrs. Gable, her expression one of dawning horror. Mayor Thompson looked utterly bewildered. Lisa's carefully constructed facade crumbled. Her eyes darted around, seeking an escape, finding only hundreds of accusing or bewildered stares. A sob escaped her, then another. She dropped the Grand Champion trophy with a clatter. The microphone clanged against the stage floor as it slipped from her nerveless fingers. Turning, she fled, stumbling down the stage steps, pushing blindly through the parted crowd, her shoulders shaking, the boos and shocked murmurs erupting behind her like a tidal wave. I stood alone in the sudden, harsh glare of the spotlights, Grandma Elsie's spice tin feeling impossibly heavy in my hand. The noise of the crowd was a confusing roar, anger, surprise, a few scattered, hesitant claps that quickly died out. Mark was suddenly there, his arm around me, but I barely registered his presence. The cheers for justice I had perhaps unconsciously expected, the vindication I craved, didn't materialize. Just a vast, echoing silence began to settle as the initial uproar subsided, and in that quiet, looking out at all those faces, judgmental, curious, pitying, staring up at me, the avenger, the destroyer of a friendship, the public shamer, a cold, hollow feeling began to spread through my chest. Lisa was ruined, her reputation in our small town shattered. But as I stood there, bathed in the unforgiving light, I had to ask myself, was this winning? Or had I just burned down everything, including a part of myself I might never get back? The taste in my mouth was bitter, utterly bitter.